My name is Smythe DuVal, and in the next 6 to 7 minutes, I'd like to introduce myself and my campaign. I am the only citizen candidate in this race, and I believe that once I tell you who I am and why I'm doing this, you'll come to agree that I am the best choice to represent the interests of Georgia voters in this election. So who am I? Well, let me tell you about my mom. I am a Southerner, by the way. So let me tell you about my mom. So she was the daughter of a Carolina tobacco farmer, and she was also administrative assistant for most of her career. She is an engaged citizen, and from her, I learned that you cannot sit on the sidelines. You got to and wait for others to take action. You got to take action, and that's what I do. I served in the U.S. Army, and later in the Georgia National Guard. I was in military police and counterterrorism in Europe. And like many Americans, my worldview was rocked by the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The specter of war convinced me to leave my corporate job over at IBM, and I chose to become a registered nurse. And that was my first experience with the Secretary of State office. I received my nursing degree from near here, University of North Georgia, and worked as a medical surgical nurse for 9 years. I'm not afraid of hard work and the values that guided my decision to serve my country, to take care of the ill, to advocate for good government. Those values bring me here today as a candidate, a citizen candidate for the Georgia Secretary of State. So why am I running? Well, you no doubt have noticed that something's deeply wrong in our political system these days. We have extreme partisanship, gridlock, endless fighting, and the two major parties are either unwilling or unable to address the nation's most pressing problems, and that especially comes down to election problems. And we're not really spared here in Georgia either. Both the Democrats and the Republicans have engaged and been guilty of using extreme gerrymandering as a means to eliminate political competition. As a result, 90% of incumbents are reelected. But just to show you how effective they have been at this, in the last general election, a whopping 82% of Georgia House incumbents did not even face an opponent. All right? So if you're not facing an opponent, think about that. When politicians run unopposed, they have no accountability to voters. No matter how out of touch they are with your district or how corrupt, the opponent cannot be, the incumbent cannot be ousted when there is no challenge. So why in a representational form of government as ours are so many seats uncontested? Why is voter participation so low? Well, today I'm going to offer you three reasons. One is inflexible voter registration. Two is ballot access restriction. And three is what I call 21st century gerrymandering. Now, as you can see, and a lot of people are beginning to see, the voters' ability to influence public policy is increasingly under attack. And as a concerned citizen, I feel like I owe it to my community and to my children to do something about it. And here's an important point about how that makes me different. I wasn't really wanting or pursuing to become Secretary of State because it's something I wanted to serve in public office. I'm doing this because I just could not sit on the sidelines any longer. All right. So we need political competition. We need political competition to make our system of government work again. I'll briefly introduce several bold and innovative solutions that, in my opinion, will not only increase political competition, but also increase voter participation in this state. All right. First, same-day voter registration. Let's make it easy as possible for Georgians to register to vote. But not only that, let's make it available year-round. No more 28-day cutoff before an election. 16 other states have figured this out. 16 other states offer same-day voter registration. Voter rolls, I will not play partisan games with the voter rolls. I have no incentive to. Okay, I don't. My opponents in November, I'm not going to be on the May ballot. I'm going to be on the November ballot. My opponents are men of integrity. However, they are burdened with maintaining a corrupt two-party system.
As Secretary of State, I will advocate for same-day voter registration not only as good public policy, but also as a fail-safe to protect voters from partisan mischief. The second one I want to bring up is ballot access equality. Let's increase the number of qualified candidates on the ballot, especially for the legislative branch. Democrats and Republicans have enacted laws over the years that basically excludes everyone else. Minor party candidates are denied ballot access, even in legislative race in which the incumbents are otherwise unopposed. This is nothing short, in my opinion, of just blatant political oppression, not only of that candidate, but everybody that supported that candidate or wanted to vote for that candidate. As Secretary of State, I will definitely advocate for ballot access equality, again, as a means to promote competition. And third, redistricting. Of all the problems we face in the 21st century, gerrymandering is the granddaddy of the bunch. Using state-of-the-art computers and powerful mapping software, politicians choose their voters. Gerrymandering is the root cause of many of our political problems, and 21st century gerrymandering is destroying representation of democracy as we know it. I will loudly advocate for redistricting reform, including an independent redistricting commission, multi-member districts, and ranked choice voting. If we get this right, okay, if we reintroduce political competition to Georgia, Georgia would become a model for the Western country. So why am I the best choice for Georgia's Secretary of State? I am a citizen candidate with a diverse background and a wealth of practical experience. I am independent of the two major parties. I'm not interested in using this office as a stepping stone for higher office. So after decades of voting for Democrats and Republicans, I'd asking you to consider an alternative to me, Smythe DuVal. I ask you for your support on November 6th, Smythe DuVal for Secretary of State. Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
All right.